So welcome to those of you who have joined us tonight. My name is Mel Brown and I'm the Community Engagement Librarian Sustainability at Hobsons Bay Libraries, and I would like to welcome you to tonight's EnviroCentre event. I would like to begin by acknowledging that depending on where you join me from tonight, we are potentially gathered on the traditional lands of many peoples. From my home, I host you from the lands of the Wurundjeri, and I would like to pay respect to their elders, past, present and future, as well as those of the wider Kulin Nation, whose boundaries cover the Hobsons Bay City Council area, where many of you are likely joining us from tonight, but not excluding all traditional owners whose lands we may be communally standing on this evening. Council acknowledges that long before this area was known as Hobsons Bay, our First Nations people had named its places, hosted ancient ceremonies where learning flourished, where knowledge and resources were exchanged, and where healthy communities and relationships were sustained and adapted to the changing environments. We recognise the unique role that diverse Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples from many lands continue to play in the life of our city. We pay homage to that this evening, coming together to learn and to share, to sustain and to adapt. Thank you for joining us. So this event will be recorded tonight, so please, when you're coming on to ask a question, feel free to turn your video on. If you don't want your video on and you do still want to ask a question, feel free to pop it in the chat and just let me know that you'd rather me ask your question, and I'm happy to do that for you. During the course of the event, I will be asking that everyone keeps their microphones muted just so we don't have any background sound for best quality. But again, you'll be more than welcome to unmute yourself in time to ask your question. So we'll have questions at the end. So feel free, if you have a question halfway through and you're worried you might forget it, pop it in the chat and I'll keep track of them, and then I'll come back at the end and remind you what your question was if you may have forgotten. So tonight's event is being brought to you by Hobsons Bay Libraries and the EnviroCentre, and just in line with the state government roadmap for reopening, just want to remind you of some of the changes in our library service currently. So all Hobsons Bay Libraries are now open Monday to Friday 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. All items that have been on loan this year were renewed until Monday the 23rd of November. So that date has now changed, has now passed, sorry. So you will need to renew your items beyond this date. Now, we've got rid of fines this year at financial year, which is very exciting. So you won't be fined for your books being overdue, but it will stop you from borrowing. So please feel free to give us a call, come into the branch or jump online and you can renew those items. We are still doing our home deliveries for those people who may not feel comfortable coming back out into branch yet. But if you would like to change back over to picking up your reserves in the library, give us a call and we can help you to organise that. But tonight's event is, of course, why we're all here. And I guess whether you've been reducing your waste for some years or just starting out, there are some tips and tricks that will be helpful to all of us in tonight's session. We are joined by author Anita Vandyke, author of A Zero Waste Life in 30 Days and the new book A Zero Waste Family in 30 Days. Anita is a qualified rocket scientist. She graduated with the Bachelor of Engineering or Aeronautical Space and runs a successful Instagram account at rocket_science about zero waste living. She was born in Guangzhou, China, raised in Australia, and currently splits her time between studying medicine in Sydney and living with her husband in San Francisco. She regularly blogs about her passion of zero waste switches, minimalism, travelling, and all things green living. Anita's first book, A Zero Waste Life, a 30-day guide published by Penguin Random House Australia, is a bestseller and gold prize winner at the Nautilus Awards and has been translated into 7 languages. Now, we actually have a copy in Polish thanks to the generosity of Anita. She was giving some copies away on her Instagram account earlier this year and our collections manager jumped in to get a Polish one. So we have that in our collection as well. And we're currently waiting for the arrival of the new book, but I'm going to share links in the chat to her title so you can reserve them all and have a read. But please join me in welcoming Anita Vandyke.
Thank you so much for having me. So how I want to structure tonight is firstly run through a bit of my story and then go through some DIYs that you can do at home, and I have some props with me. And then finally, I want to run it like a masterclass because there isn't that many of us. So I want you to be able to ask questions to me and any dilemmas that you may have, and let's problem solve them together. But let's begin from the beginning. So I want to begin by asking the question, Are you wasting your life away? Not just are you producing a lot of waste, but are you wasting your life away? You see, before I started living a truly zero waste life, I never asked myself any of those questions. I didn't grow up with a hippie mum or a passion for the environment. I was just a person trying to find success in all the usual places: money, power, status. But these stereotypical notions of success didn't provide me with the happiness that I expected. I was literally wasting away my life. At age 26, I was a manager in a large engineering firm, earning more money than my migrant parents ever had. I was a literal rocket scientist, having studied aeronautical space engineering and graduating with honours. On paper, my life was the epitome of success. I had a great looking husband, the latest pair of Givenchy boots in the closet. I was the one my parents didn't have to worry about. I was supposedly living the great Australian dream. This all changed in an instant. I remember sitting in a board meeting on level 6, looking at my boss, my boss's boss, and the big boss. And I had a surreal, almost out of body experience where I heard the question, is this it? Is this who I was going to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years' time? I realized then that if I kept going down this path, one that was bound by golden handcuffs, all my hopes of living a life that was truly mine would be lost forever. And these questions started to haunt me. It started to make me miserable. And my husband looked at me in the eyes and said, "You have to quit your job. It's killing you." I knew then if I didn't do something to change my life, I risked losing him as well. So I quit my job the next day. And since then, my life has totally transformed. By embracing a truly zero waste life, I've gone back to uni to study to become a doctor. I just graduated a couple of weeks ago. I moved out of a 4-bedroom house into a 59 square meter apartment. And most importantly, I dedicated my life to something greater. You see, working in corporate Australia didn't reflect who I was, but that doesn't mean it's not right for you. You certainly don't have to quit your day job to live a more eco-friendly life, but you do have to do what's right for you. To me, living a zero waste life means more than just a plastic-free diet. It has given me the freedom to live in alignment with my values. It has allowed me not to waste my life. And so after quitting my job, I had to learn to make ends meet on one income. And that's when my zero waste journey began. I went back to the frugal lessons that my migrant parents taught me. My parents, much like our parents, who lived in a generation where plastic was not everywhere like it is now. I learned to buy what I needed, not waste my food, reuse items, and not to live a disposable lifestyle with my disposable income. In stripping away the excess, I began to learn more about environmentalism. And that's when I found a new freedom to explore issues that really mattered. During this time, I attended a talk with Dr. Sylvia Earle at the Sydney Opera House. And she is the original female aquanaut. She has explored the depths of our oceans for the past 40 years. And she has seen the changes that has occurred in our ocean life. And she shocked me with pictures of how plastic pollution invaded every single layer of our oceans. In fact, by 2050, there'll be more plastic in the seas than fish. Plastic takes hundreds of years to break down. In fact, every single piece of plastic that has ever been created is still on the planet in some form or another. Now, when people hear the term zero waste, they think, oh gosh, I can't do that. That's just too daunting. That's just too overwhelming. But I want to introduce a new concept, and I want to call it the gentle activist. The gentle activist is just about leaving a gentler footprint on the planet. That's it. And this new kind of environmentalist, this modern day activist, looks like you and me. It's about valuing small but consistent actions, the compound effect of which will not only reduce your waste, but also enrich your life. I want to show you that small changes can make a big cumulative difference. Now, one of my favorite quotes from the new book is that sustainability has to be sustainable for you, right? We can't make these 180 changes and for it not to stick. We have to make sustainability sustainable for you. So I want to introduce to you my 3 steps to zero waste method. And that begins with, firstly, the reduce your waste option. Reduce your waste means encouraging you to use up what you have, even if it's plastic, before you buy anything new, because you've already created that resource. Use it up, recycle it, dispose of it appropriately. The second step is the low waste option. That means using paper, stainless steel, glass options, anything but plastic, because these materials can actually be recycled infinitely without degradation to the material quality. Plastic itself is so bad because A, it's made out of petroleum, which is a non-renewable resource, but also it's actually downcycled rather than recycled. That means it gets downcycled to poorer forms of plastic until it can't be downcycled any further and it sits in landfill, leaching, methane gas and causing climate change. And finally, the third step is the zero waste option. And this is the ultimate goal for those who want to master a plastic-free life. This includes making your own products, buying naked foods, and a whole bunch of other tips which I'll share with you later on. Now, I designed this method because we're all very busy. I'm a mother, I'm a doctor, I'm an author, and we're all at different stages of our zero waste journey. And I want you to be able to mix and match these different options according to where you are at this moment in time. So let's go straight to the tips now. The first thing I want to talk about is food. Now, reducing our food waste and eliminating plastic from our grocery shopping is the simplest way to begin our zero waste journey. For food waste, we simply need to understand the ins and the outs. So, what I want you to do after this session tonight or tomorrow is put on some gloves and go home and do a bin audit. So, a bin audit means just looking at what are the frequent flyers that you're throwing away. What is actually going into your home and being thrown away into landfill? I want you to sit down and think, is it plastic takeaway packaging? Is it clothing tags? What is it that you're actually throwing away? Now, once you do that bin audit, you then can make the changes that you need to understand, A, what your council actually goes into the recycling bin and what can't be going into the recycling bin, and B, how you can reduce your waste by understanding the frequent flyers. Which brings me to the next option. I'm sure a lot of you guys do this already now, but get composting. And I'm sure your local council has a composting, initiative or composting system that you can take advantage of at a very low cost. And if you don't have your own compost, or if you don't have your own worm farm or any kind of, food kind of disposal system, I suggest to you to use a website called sharewaste.com. And this is for the lazy people like me who lives in a 59 square meter apartment. What I do is I freeze my compost and I take it to the local community centre or the community gardens once a week. No mess, no upkeep, it's that easy. And sharewaste.com will allow you to see who else wants to take your compost. It could be your neighbours, it could be community gardens, it's that easy. So there's really no excuse. Now, the final option that I want to talk about in terms of food waste is that you can actually prevent plastic packaging from coming into your home in the first place. And you can simply do this by a couple of options. Firstly, I suggest shopping the outer aisles of the supermarket. So if you don't have a bulk store or farmer's market that you can go to, just go shop the outer aisles of the supermarket. Mother Nature has created her own packaging for most of the foods that you need out there. And you incidentally take part in what I call the zero waste diet. So you're healthier by default because you're sticking to the outer aisles of the supermarket, you're eating whole foods, and you're eating not plastic food, really. And finally, if you do have a bulk store near you, that's the best option. You can bring your own containers. And a life hack that I suggest is to actually shop less. So if you buy stuff at the bulk store, most of those are dry goods. You can actually just go once a month, even though if it's a bit further away. You shop your fresh produce by shopping the outer aisles of the supermarket, and you save your bulk shopping for, say, once a month, and you bring your own containers, and they have a long shelf life, and they actually last a long time. So it saves you time, it saves you money, and it prevents plastic packaging from coming into your home. Now, switching gears a bit, the second area I want to talk about is what I call stuff. Now, I'm talking about anything in your home that's not a perishable. Over the past 5 to 6 years, I've gotten rid of about 70% of my stuff, and it has literally and metaphorically taken a load off. It has saved time, money, and stress by removing all the clutter. The first step I want you to engage on after you do your bin audit is to put yourself on a spending ban. So what I do this once a year, and I call it #NoSpendTember. And for the month of September, I don't buy anything except for the essentials such as food, petrol, transport, all that kind of thing. But you can set your own rules and you can set your own time frame. It could be 1 week, it could be a fortnight, it could be a month, whatever it may be. By stopping your shopping, you can see where your money is going and start controlling your external environment. Let us not forget our external environment is also a reflection of our internal environment. And that's why I want to bring you to the next concept of decluttering your home. This may take some time and patience, and I have a 3-day decluttering guide in my first book, A Zero Waste Life. But it's something to think about. The stuff in your home should not be a burden. It should not literally be a mental and physical burden. I mean, think of the time maintaining the stuff. Think of the time that you spend cleaning, buying, and all the money that you waste accumulating this stuff. And if you're like me, I had a spare room in my 4-bedroom house when I lived in there that was just filled with stuff. So I was literally paying my mortgage or rent for a spare room just to house my stuff. And I'm sure we all have those rooms in our houses or cupboards in our houses. We're actually paying for our stuff to be housed. Think about that. So when you do your spending ban and after you come out from it, and if you do need to buy something, I want you to go through the hierarchy of needs. So these are questions you ask yourself before you buy anything new. Firstly is this actually a problem? Like, do I actually need to buy something? Second question, can I make do with something I already have? Third question, can I borrow it? Can I do a shout out on Facebook and ask for it? Things like that. Fourth question, can I buy it secondhand or from the secondhand economy? And finally, if you do need to buy something new, can I buy it from a responsible product maker, someone who is in alignment with our values? I got to be frank with you. I haven't bought anything new except for underwear and socks for over about 5 years. Yep. Make secondhand your first choice. It's as simple as that. Now, the final area I want to tackle before we go into the DIY portion is the issue of time. Now, I want you to do a quick exercise. Just do a mental exercise. Have a think. I want you to calculate your hourly wage. Okay? So if you have a salary, just roughly think, how much is your hourly wage? This is how much your time is worth in an economic sense. Now I want you to think of all the things you do without pay. So house chores, cleaning, child rearing, some other things such as watching TV, watching cat videos on YouTube, those kind of things. Those are the unpaid hours. And some of those unpaid hours are crucial to living a normal, healthy life. But in reality, too many of us spend those lost hours mindlessly consuming. We are literally wasting away our lives. So I want you to do a rough guess of how many hours a week you spend passively consuming rather than actively creating. And for me, that included browsing the shops, mindlessly surfing the internet, watching those bloody cat videos again, watching hours of reality television. Think of a rough estimate. All of us will probably be underestimating, because on average, Australians spend about 3 to 6 hours passively consuming television, internet, reality TV over a day. Yes, over a day. And this can be verified by your analytics on your mobile. I dare you to have a look at it. You'll be shocked. If you do the maths, let's just say 4 hours, that's almost 30 hours a week that we're losing of lost hours to passively consuming things, mindlessly consuming things. That's a whole day. Now I want you to think of all the things you've never accomplished because you said, I don't have the time for that. For me, I always wanted to learn more about environmental issues, do further study, learn how to sew. And I always thought, I don't have the time to do that. Now, imagine if you replaced your lost hours with active hours, ones in which you're doing, creating, making, learning, rather than just passively consuming. You see, we all have 24 hours a day. Instead of saying you don't have time for these goals, try saying they aren't a priority. See how that feels. To be frank with you, those lost hours can be used to do so many more things just than achieve fun hobbies. How many times have we said we don't have time to exercise? We don't have time to cook a nice meal. We don't have time to live a more eco-friendly life. In fact, we do have the time. It's just not a priority. So tonight, I challenge you to make it a priority. Instead of losing those lost hours to more television, more shopping, more emptiness, I challenge you to fill it with something nourishing, fulfilling, something worthwhile of your precious time. You see, plastic is Mother Nature's non-renewable resource, and time is ours. So let's not waste either one. Thank you. So that's a bit of my journey and how I came about to writing the 2 books that I've written so far. And what I'm going to do now is go on to the portion of, the DIY portion. And if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or raise your, just speak out and let me know. But what I want to do is run through the DIYs and I'll break it down to 3 different sections. Firstly, home cleaning. The second topic will be beauty. And the final topic will be just tips and tricks about zero waste living. And finally, the last portion will be a Q&A in which I'll be happy to answer your questions. So feel free to do that. So the first thing I want to show you is the DIY cleaning product that I made. And this is such a simple recipe. And before I go on though, I want to go back to the, the bin audit that you're doing, but also I want you to have a think about all the jars and sprays and all the cleaning products you have in your home. On average, Australians have about 10 to 15 different spray bottles underneath their sinks. Yep, that's a lot of chemicals and a lot of money. And I want to show you 3 simple products which can replace all of those. So the first one being this general all-purpose cleaner. And this would have been a cleaner that your grandparents would have made. It is just 50% white vinegar, 50% water, and this is a great way to prevent food waste, which is to use your old citrus rinds. Soak this for about 3 to 4 days and it makes a lovely citrus vinegar general all-purpose cleaner that will literally clean most of your surfaces. And this is something I've been using for years, and it's great. Now, another option I have in these COVID times is Castile soap. Castile soap, you can get this from the bulk store and refill it. It's a type of vegetable soap, and different dilutions allow you to make different things. So one thing I like to make is with this whole bottle, you can use 1/10 and dilute it 1/10. That makes a great hand wash. You can also dilute it in the same amount, and it can also be a dishwashing liquid. 1:7 makes a great stain remover. So you can, put it in a spray bottle, make it a stain remover. And there's literally hundreds of different recipes that you can do with Castile soap. Just do a Google. How do I spell the soap? It's Castile, Castile. Okay. And it's so this bottle costs $14 and will probably last you about 12 months. No joke. So it is a cost-effective solution, and it actually, with COVID times, it is an actual soap. So if you make a hand wash out of it, it does kill your germs. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is bicarb soda. So that is the third thing I have. If you make a paste out of bicarbonate soda and water, you can use that as a stain remover. You can also use it to clean your bathroom, any, the grout or anything like that, or any permanent stains that you have there, or tricky stains you have there, and that's a simple solution. So with those three things, I've just narrowed your 15 bottles to 3 items, and they're all cheap as chips. For me, it's not just important to have those items as a cost-saving measure, but it's also really important for our skin and our family, and also the health of the planet. All those chemicals that we have underneath our sink are industrial waste quality. So they're designed to really take, for nursing homes and hospitals, they're really strong stuff. And I experienced this firsthand when I started getting really bad eczema on my hands. And I got rid of those cleaning solutions, and lo and behold, my eczema was gone. So I want all you to also think about how you clean your products in terms of what you put on your floors. Your children crawl on your floors. Your animals are on your floors. We want to be able to clean with things that we can practically eat with, because we don't want these toxic chemicals to be ingested, and we certainly don't want them going down the drain and polluting our waterways. So that's the cleaning portion. Now, the next topic I want to talk about is beauty. And this is for a great Christmas recipe as well. I like this DIY coffee scrub, and I wish you could smell it. It smells exactly like coffee. You can use your old coffee grounds, mix it with 50% melted coconut oil, and then 50% coconut oil, 50% coffee grounds, and then add in 1 or 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and it makes the most beautiful body scrub. And the reason why it's so good is because it prevents food waste, because your coffee grounds are usually composted or thrown away into landfill, but it also prevents microbeads from going down the drain. So the things that we buy at the supermarkets actually contain plastic microbeads. And not only are they really bad for the environment, because those microbeads, who ingests them? The fish ingests them. And who ingests the fish? Yes, we do. So we're at the top of the food chain. The plastic bioaccumulates up the food chain, and we end up ingesting the plastic ourselves. And let's be honest, our beauty shouldn't literally or metaphorically cost us the earth. So this is a great solution. You can do a whole batch of these, decorate it with some ribbon, and it'll make a really lovely Christmas present as well. And you can do it with sugar if you don't have coffee grounds. So the same recipe, but with brown sugar. Now, my final recipe here in terms of beauty is my miracle cleansing oil. And this is one of my favorite recipes, and it's really transformed my skin. Now, I don't know if you can see, but my skin is actually really clear now. It wasn't always like this, I got to be honest with you. Before I started this journey, I was using all the designer brands. You name it, I used it. SK2, I used, La Mer, like all the fanciest brands you can think of, I use them. And nothing beats this $5 miracle cleansing oil. It's really transformed my skin. So what it is, it's a cleansing oil which takes away your makeup and removes all the dirt. And the great thing about it, because it's an oil, it's really gentle on the skin. You use it to wash your face and then you wipe it off with a face cloth, and that's it. As simple as that. And then you put on your normal moisturizer afterwards. Now, the Miracle Cleansing Oil, all it has is 50%, so fill up a bottle, 50% with jojoba oil, and then 1/4 organic sunflower oil. And then you add in 10 to 20 drops according to your skin type. So 10 to 20 drops of essential oils such as lavender for sensitive skin, tea tree oil for oily skin, and ylang ylang for like combination skin. And that recipe, seriously, is literally the best. It takes away even waterproof makeup. It smells great, and it makes a really good Christmas present as well. Yes, all these recipes are in my first book and also in my second book, the variations of it. And also the coffee grounds, it doesn't need to be stored in the fridge. You can store it in the fridge, but this little jar can be safely stored in your shower for about 3 weeks before anything will happen to it. Because it's in oil, it acts as a natural preservative. Okay, and the final area I want to touch upon is a zero waste kit. Now, the four most common things found in beachside cleanups is firstly plastic bags. So plastic bags, easy solution, just get yourself a reusable tote bag. Okay, that's the first element of my zero waste kit. The second thing that I put in my zero waste kit is a reusable drink bottle, because that's the second most common thing found in beachside cleanups, plastic bottles. And to live in Australia where we have drinkable water. So invest in a stainless steel or glass drink bottle, and that should be part of your zero waste kit. The third thing that's most commonly found is disposable coffee cups. So my solution to this, especially now that lockdown restrictions have eased, is to firstly sit down and enjoy your coffee, right? We're always rushing to, drink this coffee and have this coffee when it really takes little to no time to sit down and enjoy it, and therefore there's no takeaway packaging whatsoever. If you do really need to take away your coffee, use a reusable coffee cup. And there's some life hacks here that I want to share with you. So a coffee cup doesn't just have to store coffee. You can use it to store water, and you can also use it to store snacks. So I sometimes put nuts or some fruit in there, and it makes a really great snack container. Another hack that I recommend is that it can be also used as a takeaway food container. Now, I'm sure you're like me, when you go out to lunch, you might have a bit of pastry left or a bit of salad or a bit of quiche or whatever. Put that in your keep cup, and your 3 p.m. self will love you for it, because then you have your snack for the rest of the afternoon. No food waste, and you save money as well in the long run. And the final thing that's found in beachside cleanups is plastic straws. Now, there's a simple solution to this. Mother Nature has created her own plastic straw, and it's called your mouth. So most of us don't need a straw. And if you do the maths for that, you use the straw for 5 minutes and it takes 400 years to biodegrade. So it just doesn't add up. If you do need to use a straw, then get a stainless steel straw. Simple as that. And those 4 items you can put in a little bag, a little cotton bag, and that's your zero waste kit. You bring it with you. You can transfer it from handbag to handbag, or you can just put it in your car, or you can put it in your backpack, whatever it may be. But that will reduce your out and about waste by up to 70%. For me, I also add in a reusable spork, so a spoon, knife, fork, a spork, and also add in a cloth napkin to prevent me using paper napkins as well. And I put that in a little bag and I transfer it from handbag to handbag, and it's as simple as that. So that brings to conclusion my DIY portion and my story. So I really want to open this back to you and help solve any of your zero waste dilemmas. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, or unmute yourself and feel free to ask.
Some great information there, Anita. Thank you very much. I can see Jesse's writing a question there. Jesse, if you did want to unmute yourself, feel free to do so. Otherwise, if it pops up in the chat, I'll assume you want me to ask it for you. And I can see Anita's keeping track of the chat as well, so she'll probably see it there as well.
Okay, I've unmuted. I was typing because I was trying to formulate the question in my head. I was going to ask, so obviously we've got like the Christmas period coming up, people buying presents, etc. Do you have any ideas on presents that don't involve too much plastic?
Yes, so I think the best present is to gift an experience rather than more stuff. I think the COVID times have really shown us that we don't want more junk from Kmart. We actually want quality time with our family and our loved ones. So what I suggest is to gift an experience. It could be an IOU type voucher. So one lovely idea is to have a movie night in your home, have an IOU movie night, and you can, make it a themed night. You can do a dinner for your friend or family member, or you can do some hours of babysitting. Or if you have young kids, do a high tea, an IOU voucher for a high tea in your home. Another thing is if you want to go out and experience, because we've all been in our homes a lot, is to do vouchers. So vouchers for the zoo, the local, botanical gardens, or if there's a movie voucher, a themed movie night you want to go to, or the aquarium, or a museum pass. Give the gift of time. I think that's what we all want this holiday season. If you actually want to give an actual physical item, I suggest making your own. And all those lovely recipes there, you can do a body scrub, a miracle cleansing oil, add in a batch of cookies, add in a homemade jam, and put together a lovely gourmet hamper that you've made yourself. You can get your kids involved. And who wouldn't love to receive something beautiful that's homemade like that? I think that's such a very touching idea. And the final thing I suggest is to embrace the secondhand economy. So particularly for kids, go to your local markets, Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, your op shops, whatever you have, get a big Santa sack that you can make yourself and fill it up with all the lovely books and toys that you might find there. And it's something great for the kids to open. And it looks good as well because it's a lovely Santa sack. And kids don't care if it's secondhand.
Thank you.
No problems.
Some really great suggestions there. Feel free, if you've got questions, to jump in. While we're waiting for some questions, I have one for you, Anita. And it's around, how do you have that conversation with family and friends that just don't always get it and just continue to, particularly around Christmas and birthdays and that buy-in? I really struggle with some people in my life who aren't quite on board, and I don't know, I sometimes struggle with how to have that conversation.
Well, I think the best way to do it is to teach, not preach. And I say this all the time. Not everyone's going to be at the same level of journey that you are at. So if they want to keep giving, it's their journey. But a gentle way to remind them is to say something like, oh, you know what, I've just spent most of lockdown decluttering, actually. We don't really actually need more stuff. Would it be okay instead of buying stuff that we just, have a meal together, or maybe we can go watch a movie together and suggest an experience rather than anything. And what they can do is, and you can say, I would love I'll just love to spend some time with you, or can you take me out to dinner, and have that conversation with them. And also, I think the simplest way is to lead by example. So if you gift an experience and something that's really memorable, I had this lovely suggestion from a radio interview I did today, where he put together a card for his mother, and every month she would pick something out of that card and they would do. So the card was filled with go to the movies, do a puppet show with the kids, go dancing or something like that. There was 12 activities, one for each month. And it was something that they could do together. And she said it was the most memorable gift that she's ever been given. So if you lead by example and do something like that, your family members will really resonate with what you're doing as well.
Thank you. So guys, please jump in. We'd love to have your questions. We've definitely we've put some time aside this evening so that we can get some of your questions answered as well. So we're waiting for some questions to come through. Just while we're waiting, so your second book now, and you mentioned, so the first book has some, pop it up there.
Yeah, so this is a zero waste family, and it's a little book, but it's chock-a-block full of tips, and I'm pretty proud of it because it's a journey of motherhood, but it's also a journey of what it means to be a conscious citizen and not to waste our lives away.
That was exactly what I was. So your first book was about kind of general as an individual, where this one you have some more family tips. What has been your biggest change, other that you've found in this zero waste journey?
So I think the biggest change since becoming a mother is, and this is the first, it's another 30-day guide, and this is the first day out of the 30-day guide. It is aim for effort, not perfection. And in this book, there's 3 pillars, and first pillar is self-care, because let's be honest, if we can't put on our own oxygen mask first, how can we put on the oxygen masks of others? And certainly we can't look after the planet if we don't look after ourselves. So that's what the first pillar is about, self-care. The second pillar is about home care. So it's about creating systems in your home to save money, time, and energy, because we're all busy people. And maybe reducing our waste is not at the top of the list, but using my engineering brain, I've created systems to make your life easier so you can save money, save time, and also reduce your waste by doing it. And the third pillar is childcare. And this is where my life has really changed, because we've all become incidental role models as we become parents. Whether we like it or not, there's a little person looking up at you. And it's about how to raise conscious citizens in a really fractured world. You know, we often feel so overwhelmed with issues of climate change, plastic pollution, and this year with the COVID crisis, it can seem overwhelming. So I really want to make it as simple as possible for people to have these conversations with their kids and also to raise conscious citizens.
Can't wait to get my hands on this book, Anita, and have a read through. I did pop the link in the chat, so even though we're waiting on it arriving, you can jump on and follow that link and reserve it already. And I have also popped the links to the first book in there as well, so feel free to jump on and have a look. Colleen, I think you raised your hand and then took it down again. Did you have a question to ask? No, that's okay. Anybody else out there with questions, please feel free to jump in. So I love that you just shared some recipes. I've actually been doing the citrus and vinegar for a while as well, and I package it up, and that's my standard Christmas gift. And I now have family and friends every year that say, "Oh, I just ran out," and it's perfect time that they get it again every Christmas. And I love that one because it's so easy, and I use it all around the house. Colleen, I see your hand's been raised again. Did you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Anita, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was wanting to know, I'm just coming across this terminology called greenwashing. Can you explain what that is, please?
Yeah, so greenwashing is when companies say they're doing something green or putting a green term on it, like eco-friendly, or they package it green so you think it's more eco-friendly, but they're actually not doing anything. So greenwashing is quite common as a marketing term because sustainability has become sexy, and so a lot of marketers have used it. But at the same time, we have to be wary as consumers about greenwashing and also give room for businesses to improve. So it's not just about condemning the greenwashers. I think it's important that we have this conversation, and it's better that we have this conversation rather than not at all. What do you think, Colleen?
Oh, no, I just came across the terminology, but I didn't know what it meant. So I appreciate how you've explained it. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
It's a really interesting one. A lot of companies out there have realized that people want to be buying more eco-friendly products, but they don't necessarily have time to be making or doing the research themselves. So it's a good way. So what I always find, if I've found a product that I really like, is I tell my friends and family about it if I know that it's a good product as well, so that, you know, if you are looking at those, you know that it's you're being shared. Now, Chi, did you want to jump on, or would you like me to ask your question for you? Well, I'll read it out. So when you were decluttering, Anita, what did you find that you didn't miss after all?
Oh, what didn't I miss? I didn't miss all the excess clothes that I had. So I spent my life accumulating all the designer labels, and none of those designer labels really meant anything, and their value depreciates so quickly. So that's why now I buy everything secondhand. I still love fashion, I still love clothes, but I just buy more mindfully. I buy less and I buy better.
And Cheryl's got a question about stain removing on clothes.
Yeah, so stain removal, a really great way to remove stains is actually using Castile soap. So I use 1 to 7 dilution, so 1 part Castile soap and then 7 parts water. I spray it directly onto the stain, give it a little bit of a rub, pop it in the wash, and that's it.
I would definitely be trying that one. Okay, Cheryl's coming on with another question. Oh, so thank you. There you go. So what do you find I'm assuming you gift some of your products to other people as well. What do you find are your most popular ones? What do people ask you for the most?
The miracle cleansing oil, because once you cleanse your face with that miracle cleansing oil, you can't go back. You know, I used to have acne along the sides here. I used to have, you know, breakouts, and it was all because I was using really heavy chemicals on my face that was completely unnecessary. And it seems the simpler you go, the less stuff you have, the better your skin is. Who would have thought?
So it sounds to me that like the vinegar, lemon, bicarb, Castile soap and your essential oils are your go-to kits for your cleaning and your beauty. Would that be right?
Yeah, and the organic jojoba and the sunflower oil for that. So yeah. So anything, all of this stuff, which is actually, you know, the best way to save money, is already found in your pantry, really. And that's why in both my books, all my recipes are 5 ingredients or less, because we're busy people. We want to be able to quickly make these things, and we want it to be less time than it takes for us to go to the shops and buy it. So, you know, it's a win-win for all.
Andrew, I can see you're typing away. Did you want to jump on and ask your question? Where do you get your I can't say that.
Jojoba oil.
Jojoba oil.
Yeah. So I get it from a place called Biome, biome.com. It's an Australian store, and they send it to you in little glass jars. So no plastic. And it's organic and it's great for your skin.
It's a great online shop, that one.
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks in there. Well, if we don't have any other questions, oh, Cheryl, you've got your hand up. Did you want to jump on to ask a question?
Sorry, yes, I actually like to give gifts of food such as shortbread and things like that for Christmas. But how do you give, because it's very hard not to put it in plastic, because it's, you know, for hygiene.
Yeah.
How would you, you know, give a gift of something like shortbread?
So what I would do is to go to your op shop and get some tins, secondhand tins. So there's secondhand cookie tins, baking tins. You can also get those big jars for $2 or $3, which you can put your shortbread in, decorate with a ribbon, and it looks great as well. So those are some for you there.
Thank you.
That's all right. Yeah, so if no one has any more questions, I just want to do a final plug for my book, A Zero Waste Family, $20. It's a great Christmas gift. And if you want any of these recipes, it's in the books, but it's also on my blog. And I also have a Instagram account with 92,000 followers. So it's full of daily tips, and it's rocket_science.
And it's a great blog. I definitely suggest everyone following away. I've been following Anita for quite a while now, so it's very exciting to have you with us tonight. But it does seem like the questions have come to an end. We've got some thanks in the chat. So thank you very much for your time tonight, Anita. It's been amazing hearing your journey and all of your tips along the way. This is our last EnviroCentre event for 2020. We're hoping, fingers crossed, to be back to in-person events in 2021. So keep an eye out on our website. We'll be advertising those events coming up very shortly. But we might potentially be live streaming in amongst our in-person events for a while. So if you're still keen to jump on an online, we're going to try our best to do a little bit of both and see how that goes. But thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have a very nice festive break. If you're getting some time off, enjoy it this year. I think everybody deserves a bit of a break this year, so be safe, be happy, and we'll see you in 2021. Thank you again, Anita. Absolutely amazing.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.